Britannia was created in the 1st century AD, a newly acquired province of the Roman Empire, her very name and image given by the conquerors from distant Rome. In the 5th century AD, the Roman Empire began to decline and fall. 12 centuries later, the Empire of Britannia began to rise, to far exceed the Roman in size, to rule at one time or another a quarter of the surface of the earth and all of the major seas. Now, after 3.5 centuries, the British Empire, like the Roman, has passed into history. But its echoes can still be heard.
Stand by. Number 1. Fire! Number 2. Fire! Number 3. Fire!
Mr. Minister, Te Horenui, chiefs and representatives of the Maori tribes of New Zealand. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou te ao kohatu. 200 years ago, Captain James Cook came to these islands and began the association between our two peoples. There have been many stresses and strains since he first came here. But it is worth remembering that in its instructions to Captain Cook, the Admiralty made it clear that you are likewise to observe the genius, temper, disposition and number of the natives, if there are any, and endeavour by all proper means to cultivate a friendship and alliance with them.
In 1840, the third year of Queen Victoria's reign, the Treaty of Waitangi was signed on this spot, and New Zealand became part of the British Empire. Article the First. The chiefs cede to Her Majesty the Queen of England all the rights and powers of sovereignty over their respective territories. Article the Second. Her Majesty guarantees to the tribes the full, exclusive and undisturbed possession of their lands, forests, fisheries and other properties. Article the Third. Her Majesty extends to the natives of New Zealand her royal protection and imparts to them all the rights and privileges of British subjects.
Number 1, fire!
Within 4 years of the Treaty of Waitangi, war began between Her Majesty's imperial forces and Her Majesty's native subjects in New Zealand. There followed 14 years of fighting. The Maori tribes lost almost all that was valuable of their lands, forests, fisheries, and other properties. The Maoris were pacified and converted to Christianity. Their numbers dwindled to a fifth of the original population. From many parts of the British Isles, a new population came to New Zealand to farm the lands, to found settlements, to bequeath the colony to their heirs. The colonists from Britain were an energetic and determined breed. During the reign of Queen Victoria, they swarmed like ants into every corner of the world. Nothing, it seemed, could check them. Not the length of a voyage, nor the hardships of pioneering, nor the resistance of the natives. A few years after the last Maori War had ended, a British journalist, Edward Dicey, reviewed the progress of British imperialism.
People, I think, are too apt to forget how it is that this empire has come into being. In the strict sense of the word, we have never been a conquering nation. North and south, east and west, we have planted the British flag in every corner of the globe. But we've done so rather in obedience to real or fancied exigencies than to any lust of conquest. Our empire is the result not so much of any military spirit as of a certain instinct of development inherent in our race. Attracted by the hope of gain, the love of excitement, or more still by the mere migratory instinct, English settlers pitch their tents in some foreign land and obtain a footing in the country. But unlike the colonists of other races, they carry England with them. They keep their own tongue, marry amidst their own people, dwell after their own fashion, and though they may live and die in the land of their adoption, look to the mother country as their home. England, like Rome, is the cornerstone of an imperial fabric such as it has fallen to the lot of no other country to erect or to uphold when erected. To be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth seems to be the mission entrusted to us, as it was to the survivors of the deluge.
The hymn which floats over Albert Park in Auckland, New Zealand, and the statue which dominates the park from its marble pedestal recall the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria in 1897, a moment in time when the British peoples paused to celebrate what they had achieved during the 60 years of Victoria's reign. In New Zealand, they were enthusiastic.
Oh, it was a big thing. I do remember the procession very well. There was pony traps and little dog carts and things like that, you see. And then these skirkers from Nepal, and then I can remember bullocks, but whether they were in the procession or not, I think they were. I can remember the drivers calling out to them and swearing at them, sort of thing. Queen Victoria was away, thousands of miles away, and we looked on her as our queen, and all these festivities were in her honour. She was a stuffy old thing.
We live on a little island which seems hardly more than a speck on the map. Yet from our little kingdom has grown an empire greater than any other empire that has been. If we could walk all over the earth, 1 out of every 5 persons we met would live under the British flag. So vast is this empire that the sun never sets upon it. It is an empire of eternal sun.
the empire of the Victorians' imagination was matched by the reality. In 1897, the Colonial Office published figures showing that during the 60 years Queen Victoria had been on the throne, the area of the empire had increased 9 times to 11,212,052 1/8 square miles, a quarter of the land surface of the world, 91 times the area of the mother country. The population of the empire was 398,401,704. H.F. Wyatt, an ardent imperialist, wrote this at the time of the Diamond Jubilee.
To us and not to others, a certain definite duty has been assigned to carry light and civilization into the dark places of the world, to give to thronging millions who would otherwise never know peace or security the first conditions of human advance, to fill the wide waste places with the children of Britain, to let the sound of the English tongue and the pure life of English homes give to the future of these immense regions its hue and shape. This is the task which our past has devolved upon us.
Queen Victoria's 60 years had been the longest reign of any British monarch. She had become the living symbol of the most enterprising age in British history. Her Diamond Jubilee was the climax of that age. Riding in her favourite landau, the elderly Queen was to be shown to her people in the nearest approach the British ever made to an imperial triumph in the Roman fashion. The Queen Empress Victoria Regina et Imperatrix would be escorted through her capital by 50,000 men of Britannia's legions and contingents of colonial soldiers from the far ends of the empire. The climax of the procession was to be a service of thanksgiving outside St. Paul's Cathedral. The route of the procession passed St. Paul's Cathedral, starting and ending at Buckingham Palace. For weeks beforehand, there was fevered preparation. Flags, bunting, and loyal inscriptions, buildings dressed in silks and velvets, the streets along the route decorated in every conceivable way, with their rooftops sprouting wooden stands at every opportunity. Huge stands were erected, many seating over 4,000 people. Prices for a view rose as high as 4,500 guineas. The press beat loudly on the theme of the Jubilee, drumming its readers into a new enthusiasm for empire, especially for the colonial troops who poured into London in readiness for the great procession. Readers of The Lady were told,
"The colonial troops are truly a superb lot of men. The Australians in their graceful cavalier-shaped hats with their plumes, then the African troops and the West Indians, blacker than the blackest black you can think of, and shining with a mixture of pride and heat that gives them the appearance of patent leather, and perhaps even more splendid, as far as almost savage beauty goes, is the company of Indian princes. Superb-looking men, all of them, with great turbans in which gleam precious stones. I really fancy I am something like Sarah Jane, for I do dearly love the military. And a great body of soldiers such as these can well make your heart beat faster and the blood rush to your cheeks for very admiration and enthusiasm."
The British government had deliberately planned the Jubilee as a festival of empire. Victorian enterprise was quick to take the cue. The Diamond Jubilee left behind a wake of mementos and memorials throughout the British Isles. At Chatham, Kent, a new tenor bell for the parish church. At Bourton-on-the-Water, Gloucestershire, a charity hall. At Grimsby, Lincolnshire, 6 almshouses. At Aboyne in Aberdeenshire, a drinking fountain. At Glentarnar in Aberdeenshire, a cattle trough. At Bath, Somerset, an oak tree. At Truro in Cornwall, public gardens. On the island of Mull in the Hebrides, a memorial by Loch Buie and his Highlanders. At Salford, Lancashire, a nurse's home. And also at Salford, presented by the Mayor, a gold chain and pendant for the use of the Mayoress and her successors. At a music hall in London, a new song for the Jubilee.
Gracious Queen's great Jubilee has now become a craze amongst her loyal subjects, and to illustrate their praise, they've a Jubilee this, they've a Jubilee that, they've made it quite a fad. In fact, this Jubilee has nearly sent the people mad. My wife's gone quite cracked about the Jubilee. Jubilee. I'm a wretched man, as you can plainly see. Oh, this Jubilee will be the death of me. You wait, putting in a dance.
I won't, Jack.
She's got the house chock full of ornaments and crockery, and every blessed article she's christened Jubilee. We've a Jubilee kettle and dishes too, and look what else we've got. We've got a Jubilee frying pan and a Jubilee scaper pot. Well, it's all right for you. How would you like it if your wife sent you out to buy one of these things?
We got one.
She always did want to be among the big pots. Come on now, all together. My wife's gone quite cracked about the Jubilee. Jubilee. I'm a wretched man, and you can plainly see.
What did the Jubilee and the Empire mean to the ordinary people of Britain? One answer was given in a popular novel written at the time by Richard Whiting, based on his own researches among the poor. His principal characters live in a London slum, Covey and Tilda.
My God, won't them chaps from the colonies have the kick? The government's taken a hotel for the toffs. Eat and drink as much as you like, never mind the bill.
I sees a geezer from the colonies the other day. Soldier he was. Felt out in a feather. White as you or me. I thought they was all black men.
Look, it's this way. Them as goes out from this country is the colour of Christians at the start. Then they turns black in the course of time. It's the sun, you see, brawls them like.
Are their babies born black? Oh, I say.
Well, coffee-coloured first go off. Well, you've seen that little mahogany-faced chap as does the clog dance at the Pav?
Yeah.
Well, he's the colonies.
The Queen's whitey brown horses. Do they come from there?
No, that's nature.
Queen Victoria never set foot in her colonies. The woman who's the centre of all the Jubilee attention spent most of her life within the grounds of her private homes. Osborne House on the Isle of Wight she had purchased with her own money. She called it her little paradise. Her private world contained an immense variety of small objects, every kind of bric-a-brac. She had over 2,000 of these articles in Osborne House alone. Mementos of anyone who was dear to her became part of the collection. Her collie Noble, her pug Basco, Nanny and Flo. She had many favourites among the dogs of the royal household. She also had many favourites among her servants. The 4 brothers Thompson, the 3 brothers Brown, and John Brown, her Highland gillie. Ahmed Hussein, Mohammed Baksh, and Abdul Karim. Abdul was her special favourite in 1897. She called him Munshi, meaning teacher, because he was teaching her to speak Hindustani. Above all, she loved her 9 children, 4 boys and 5 girls. By 1897, most of them were married, with their own children and grandchildren. But to their mother they remained ever young, frozen at a cherished age into marble and placed on granite pedestals to become part of the silent bric-a-brac in the drawing room. At the time of her Diamond Jubilee, the Queen Empress, who reigned over a quarter of the world, was 78 years of age and 4 foot 10 inches high. A small, very plump old lady who suffered badly from rheumatism. She always wore black, even at her Jubilee, for Victoria still mourned the loss of her husband, Prince Albert, who had died 36 years before. In her private sitting room, she kept Prince Albert's desk where it had always been, next to her own. And it was here that the Queen Empress attended to the business of reigning over her 398 million subjects. To the Prime Minister, the Marquis of Salisbury, concerning the ceding of Heligoland to Germany.
That any of my possessions should be thus bartered away causes me great uneasiness. I must repeat that I think you may find great difficulties in the future. Giving up what one has is always a bad thing.
To the Viceroy of India, the Marquis of Lansdowne.
Our dealings in India should be dictated by straightforwardness, kindness and firmness, or we cannot succeed. There is no doubt from what the Queen hears from many sides that the natives, though they are very loyal to the Queen Empress and the royal family, have no affection for the English rule, which is one of fear and not of love. And this will not answer for a conquered nation.
In the Durbar Room at Osborne, designed by the father of Rudyard Kipling, Queen Victoria displayed the presents given her by the princes of India on the occasion of her Diamond Jubilee.
To me. How kind they are. From my heart I thank my beloved people. May God bless them.
They say somebody give her a parasol worth £400. Oh, golly. How'd you like me now, then, eh? Yeah. Wouldn't it be fine to see them soldiers on horseback, eh? I hope it's the Reds.
Ah, my fancy's for the chaps from the ships. Gonna bring their guns with them. Shoot 4 mile. That's what licks them foreigners so when we're a-taking of their countries. Picks them off afore they can come near. Foreigners can't make them tools.
They can make fancy boots, though, you bet your life.
Yeah, well, they're all right for them tasty sort of things, I dare say.
Well, what business is it of ours to go off and shoot them all, then?
How are you going to get your tea and sugar? All comes from there, you know.
The Secretary of State for the Colonies, Joseph Chamberlain.
What is the state of the case? Great Britain, the little centre of a vaster empire than the world has ever seen, owns great possessions in every part of the globe. What would a great landlord do in a similar case with a great estate?
Facts and statistics from the Colonial Office list published in 1897.
In the matter of trade, the colonies have made great strides. In 1896, the trade of the colonies reached £338,049,447. During the 60 years of Victoria's reign, the value of colonial exports has increased 4.5 times. Concerning labour, it is estimated that since 1837, 1 million Indian coolies have been transported to various parts of the empire to provide labour. They are now working in Mauritius, Jamaica, Ceylon, St. Lucia, British Guiana, St. Vincent and St. Kitts, Natal, Grenada, the Malay States and Fiji. It is most satisfactory to note that the empire now possesses 1/3 of the world's sheep, 1/4 of the world's cattle, 1/12 of the world's horses and 1/14 of the world's swine. In the matter of gold, the Empire is now furnishing us with 3/7 of the world's production.
The empire of Queen Victoria throbbed to the rhythm of steam, which dug riches from the earth and drew them over land and sea to the motherland. The rise of Britain in the 19th century was the rise of the world's first industrial power. The massive temples to cotton, with their steeples belching black coal smoke, had gathered into Britain a vast surplus of capital. It was invested and reinvested in foreign and colonial fields. The dividends had raised Britain to first place among the nations in the ownership of wealth. It is estimated that in 1897, 92% of the wealth of the nation was owned by 10% of the people. There was another 10% who owned nothing. General Booth of the Salvation Army investigated their condition in the 1890s. He found what he called a vast, despairing multitude who had no income, were homeless and starving. In June 1897, the Daily Telegraph commented,
"When we have done all that we can think of to commemorate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, there still remains that floating mass of vagrant pauperism standing outside our loyal and patriotic rejoicings. There is little enough, heaven knows, that we can do for these waifs and strays who form the permanent shadow on all the refinements, culture, and splendor of our civilization. Yet they are, after all, citizens of a great empire and subjects of the Queen."
They were, said General Booth, in a condition nominally free, but really enslaved. As there is a darkest Africa, he asked, is there not also a darkest England? For the 500,000 very poor of London, the dawning of Jubilee Day brought promise of a meal. The Jubilee dinners for the poor, provided by public subscription. Free tea, supplied by Mr. Thomas J. Lipton. 20,000 sheep, and 500 bullocks, sent by the pastoralists of Australia. Beef and mutton boiled and roast, 2 vegetables, plum pudding, bread, lemonade or tea, and oranges. 1/2 ounce of tobacco and a clay pipe for each man.
Good morning, my friend, and God bless you. Lovely day for Her Majesty. I've just come to bring you a little picture I thought you might like to hang up in your room. Oh, there is a double interest in that picture, as you see.
What might his name be? Anybody we've been licking lately?
Oh, no. No, we've never had any trouble with him. Brought up by the missionaries.
What sort of lingo would he speak? I mean, like, you know, in a manner of speaking.
Well, sort of broken English, I fancy. At any rate, when he's coming our way.
I suppose everyone all over the world will know our patter by and by.
That's what it's coming to, I fancy. They pick it up like it's the tracts.
What's the lingo up yonder, I wonder?
Up where?
You know, that place what you're always a-talking of.
English will do, I think you'll find.
On Jubilee morning, while soldiers and sailors of the Empire prepared to march through London, an Egyptian army under British command and a squadron of Royal Navy gunboats were encamped here in the shadow of Jebel Bakr, the sacred mountain of the moon. They were in the Sudan, just below the 4th cataract of the River Nile, and they were preparing to add nearly 1 million square miles to the British Empire. Their camp was on the site of Napata, capital of the ancient Ethiopian Empire, a great center of worship for the ram god, Amun. In 25 BC, a Roman army under Gaius Petronius destroyed Napata in revenge for the looting of a statue of the Roman Emperor Augustus. In 1897 AD, the commander of the imperial army was Herbert Kitchener. The barbarian kingdom he was invading was the Dervish Empire, and its capital was Omdurman. He was avenging the murder of General Charles Gordon at Khartoum 12 years before. The imperial forces were armed with the Martini Henry rifle, the Maxim machine gun, and field artillery. The dervishes were armed with spears and a few muzzle-loading muskets. The real enemy that lay before the British was not the dervishes, but the desert, the vast, waterless, terribly hot Nubian desert. The 4th and 5th cataracts made further travel along the Nile slow and dangerous, so the line of march and line of supply would have to stretch 600 precarious miles across the sands. The British had found an answer. The Royal Engineers were building it with Egyptian labor. The officer in charge was a French Canadian who had helped build the Canadian Pacific. The gauge was 3'6", chosen because that was the gauge at the Cape of Good Hope. As Queen Victoria celebrated her Diamond Jubilee, her empire was advancing at an average rate of 33 rails an hour, 1.5 miles a day. Within 18 months, the Desert Railway would reach its terminus and deliver into the heart of the enemy the whole of the Imperial Army, complete with heavy artillery and gunboats. The finale was to be a total British victory at the Battle of Omdurman. British casualties: 28 killed, 147 wounded. Dervish casualties: 11,000 killed, 16,000 wounded. One war in Persia, one war in Malaya, one war in Aden, 2 wars in Afghanistan, 2 wars in Burma, 3 wars in China, 4 wars in New Zealand, 4 wars in the West Indies, 6 wars in Canada, 19 wars in Africa, 27 wars in India. Between 1837 and 1897, during the 60 years of the Queen's reign, her imperial troops fought a total of 70 colonial wars. The Diamond Jubilee procession through London on June the 22nd was above all a pageant of their triumph, a tribute to conquerors. As the colonial troops went by, a correspondent of the Daily Mail, George Stevens, was moved to comment, "Up they came, more and more. New types, new realms at every couple of yards. An anthropological museum, a living gazetteer of the British Empire. You began to understand as never before what the empire amounts to. All these people are working not simply under us, but with us. We send out a boy here and a boy there, and the boy takes hold of the savages and teaches them to march and shoot as he tells them, to obey him and believe in him and die for him and the Queen. And each one of us, you and I, and that man in his shirt sleeves at the corner, is a working part of this world-shaping force. How small you must feel in face of the stupendous whole, and yet how great to be a unit in it."
Britons always loyally declaim about the way we rule the waves. Every Briton's song is just the same when singing of a soldier braves. All the world has heard it, wonders why we sing, and some have learned the reason why. We're not forgetting it, we're not letting it fade away or gradually die. fade away or gradually die. So when we say that England's master, remember who has made her so. It's the soldiers of the Queen, my lads, who've been, my lads, who have seen, my lads, in the fight for England's glory, lads, of its worldwide glory let us sing. And when we say we've always won, and when they ask us how it's done, we'll proudly point to every one of England's soldiers